years ago, they redistricted the New York City Council. And I ran for City Council during that year, and I looked at the gerrymandered districting that the City Council did, and I was sick. They took Dyker Heights, a conservative, Republican stronghold, and they broke it up into 4 separate districts, and they spread it all over, not for any reason, but to take away the power of conservatives and Republicans. But one good thing came from that gerrymandering redistricting is that we got in South Brooklyn Council Member David Carr, Minority Leader on the City Council. Please welcome David Carr to South Brooklyn.
Good evening, Brooklyn GOP. Are we going to get Bruce Blakeman elected in November? I can't hear you. Are we going to elect Bruce Blakeman our next governor? Absolutely we are. And I want to thank Vito for emceeing tonight. I want to thank our new chairman, still relatively new chairman, William McCabe. He is an operative of the highest order, and he's going to continue in his leadership and with this executive team to pay dividends for our candidates and elected officials here in Brooklyn. I was just at New York City Hall earlier today, and I was counting the days. 43 days since the social media mayor, the socialist Zohran Mamdani, took office. It's 43 days, but it feels like a century. And I was just thinking, it should be day 43 of the Curtis Leawitt administration. Actually, it should be day 43 of term 2 of the Curtis Leawitt administration. And we have a fight on our hands. He has appointed radicals to office who believe private property is a weaponization of white supremacy. We have a mayor who wants to defund the NYPD through the back door with this Department of Community Safety. We have a mayor who wants to tax New York City into oblivion in order to make up for a $12 billion deficit that he helped to support with the migrant crisis. We need a fighter. And thankfully, we already have one in office today, and that's our Congresswoman, Nicole Malliotakis. Nicole has been serving Brooklyn and Staten Island since 2011, and she has never stopped fighting a day in her life. And she knows the answer to the age-old question, is there a Republican or Democratic way to take out the trash? The answer is there is. We take it out and pick it up, they leave it on the streets. And she's been taking out Democrat trash since the beginning in 2010 when she beat Janelle Heyer-Spencer, and then again in 2020 when she beat Max Rhodes. And she's been delivering. In her year 1, she was modest. She started small. She took on the MTA and the Port Authority, and she won. She got to Congress and she delivered for us again, restoring the SALT deduction so that we could afford to stay in our homes and not be taxed into oblivion by the state and city of New York. She will never give up for us, and we can never give up on her, and they're trying to take away her seat in the courts today. Are we going to let them send Nicole Malliotakis back home? No, we're going to send her back to Washington this year. Let's hear it for Nicole Malliotakis.
Your very first event. Congratulations. You know, it was just 6 years ago. It was 6 years ago that we said we were no longer going to be poorly represented by a Democrat in our congressional district, and we fired Max Rhodes. And it was because of many of you in this room who had enough, who were sick and tired, who did not like the fact that this person was marching with the defund the police movement, and said this person did not represent our values. We stood up, we fought back, and we won. And at that time, I actually became the only elected official to represent, the only Republican elected official to represent the borough of Brooklyn in any level of government, city, state, or federal. But because of all of you, we have now multiplied that by 8, and we are represented at every level of government, city, state, and federal. So give yourselves a round of applause because the hard work has paid off. But as you know, in Brooklyn and New York City, we got to fight. We have to fight for everything that we have. And in the last year, with the election of President Donald Trump and a Republican House, we've been able to turn the tide of our city and our country. We've been able to secure our border. We've been able to deport thousands of violent criminals, including convicted murderers and rapists. People that the Democrats go so out of their way to protect. We have had 0 people released into our country unvetted in the last 8 months. We have delivered the largest tax cut for working Americans, middle-class families, and senior citizens in history. Seniors across this country, 88% of them, 51 million Americans, are going to get their Social Security taxes refunded to them when they file this year. And the SALT deduction here in New York, which sadly we desperately need because of the Democrats' tax and spend policy. What Kathy Hochul and what Zohran Mamdani and all the Democrats have taken from you, Republicans and President Trump in Washington, we're giving relief by quadrupling the SALT deduction for middle-class families across New York. And we've taken on a whole other slew of issues, including banning biological men from competing against young girls and women in sports. And just this week, we passed legislation that requires proof of citizenship and identification to vote in our elections. Now that's a critical one, because we see the actions from the Democrats. At every turn, they're trying to tilt the scale, change the rules, because they cannot win on merit, policy, or debate. You know, I was looking at this dais before. We have amazing candidates. But I noticed, and elected officials, and I've noticed that the elected officials right here in the middle, they come, their families or themselves have fled Russia, China, and Cuba. And there's a reason why they are Republicans. Because they know exactly what socialism is, they know exactly what communism is, and they do not want it here in the United States of America. And that is what the Republican Party stands for, to fight against these oppressive, freedom-snatching policies that are being peddled by the Democrats. But we must be vigilant, just like this group, with the help of Chairman Ed Cox, sued and stopped non-citizen voting in our elections. Now we're in court again to preserve the integrity of our elections in a different way. We are fighting right now to protect my district, our district, the people of Staten Island and Brooklyn's district from being gerrymandered once again by the Democrats. There is 2-1. We fought them in 2024 again, and we were able to preserve this district as is, drawn by an independent special master. And now we are going to fight, and we will, mark my words, prevail and protect the people of Staten Island and Southern Brooklyn and ensure that the only voice that we have in Washington that is a common sense conservative Republican voice is preserved. So I want to thank you all for being here today, supporting our new chairman, and I do have to give a shout out. When I first ran for the New York State Assembly, there were not many people who believed that I could win and defeat a Democrat incumbent. And that, when you see here a bunch of superstars that have all defeated now Democrat incumbents with your help. But at the time, it was very novel for Republicans to actually stand united and put all their force behind a candidate to defeat a Democrat and flip a seat. And we did it. And we defeated Janelle Meyer-Spencer in 2010. And I want to thank the Republican chairman at that time, was Chairman Craig Eaton. Thank you for believing in me at that time. As did the Brooklyn Conservative Party chairman at that time, Jerry Kassar. And of course, State Senator Marty Golden. And Fran Bellegarone has always been there every step of the way, as has Liam McCabe. So I want to thank all of you. So let's get out there. Let's fight. Let's not only preserve the 11th Congressional District, let's re-elect these amazing candidates that are going to be on the ballot, or we have to be vigilant. Let me just say one thing. Last thing. Everybody remembers what happened to Marty Golden in 2018. This may happen to any of these candidates up here. So this is very serious. We need to be vigilant. We need to fight to protect these districts, and we as Republicans in Brooklyn and New York City cannot take anything for granted. So thank you for being here.